Bryan Gould is the president of Aspenleaf Energy. Yep, he is from Alberta. He deals with oil and gas. We're going to have some good questions with him. But before then, I have a question for you because you want to stay on the air, especially during the election when you can get unbiased opinions. You may not agree with them all, but they are going to be honest, not paid for by the PMO. So please donate. Keep us on the air. And before I speak to Bryan, I just want to point out that Andrew Willis, great journalist, has written an article, and he's talking about the oil patch chief executives to call red tape on oil projects a crisis. The Trudeau government created, under the Impact Assessment Act, a body which was supposed to approve everything in a minimum of 3 years. That was created 7 years ago. They've approved nothing. I hear this all the time. They say, Canada is falling flat. Our economy is falling flat. We've known that for 10 years. Is it true that nothing is getting approved at all?
So yes, it's true. But before I answer your question directly, I want to make 3 points to set a foundation for you, Stephen. So number one, the modern world works on energy, steel, cement, fertilizer, and plastics. That's
all those things our Prime Minister doesn't like.
All those things he doesn't like, and that's the reality. So that's point one. Point number two, this discussion about net zero, transition of fossil fuels isn't happening, can't happen, won't happen, and I would suggest to you is immoral and sinister because there are 7 billion people on this planet that are hungering for more energy. That's point two. Point three, as you've just alluded to, Canada has just suffered through a lost decade where rather than moving forward, we've been moving backwards. And you won't know the statistics better than I in terms of prosperity, wealth, security, safety, you name it.
Even some of the poorest states in the United States, even some of the poorest countries in the world, had greater growth in their economies than Canada over the last 10 years.
Alberta, as Canada's wealthiest province, is poorer than the poorest state in the United States now. That's how far we have slid.
But Canadians know that, Bryan.
And say they know this. Now, in direct answer to your question, if I may, I would call on Mr. Carney to tear down his walls. And there are 3 elements to that. One is the regulatory morass that his government has created. And it's not just the Impact Assessment Act. It's tanker bans, it's plastic bans, and on it goes.
Now let me say, I know somebody out there saying, well, it's not his government. He's only been here for 2 or 3 weeks. But he has been advising Justin Trudeau for years, correct? And there's a guy by the name of Butts, who is Trudeau's best advisor for 10 years, who's advising him now.
Correct. And if you want to know where he really stands, go read his book, Values, which I read on the airplane coming in here. And if you read his book, you'll understand what he really stands for and what he really has been doing this last number of years.
Net zero.
Net zero, eliminate plastics, central planning, big government control, government telling you how to live your life, what you should eat, how you should live, what vehicle you should drive, what clothes you should wear.
He's a bureaucrat. He wants to tell you everything.
I would actually argue that he's not a bureaucrat, he's a totalitarianist.
On that note, we're just going to hop into our electric cars and go. We're out of 3 minutes. Bryan, thank you very, very much. Good stuff. 3 minutes. To those of you who have subscribed and donated, a heartfelt thank you. You're keeping us on the air. If you're watching and you haven't, please try to do so, because 4 years ago we started this show because there needed to be independent analysis. Now more than ever, with the Online Harms Act, once that gets into law, it's been passed once by the House, there are going to be hundreds of bureaucrats censoring the news in Canada, censoring this show. We need to keep it on the air. Thanks for your support.